Hey all, boardgamerants here. We will find everything solo tabletop gaming and more. Gonna talk about my favorite and least favorite thing about playing Dungeon Degenerates solo. Here we go. And my favorite thing is I've finally found a game that fits my off-colored, handcrafted, well, I didn't craft it, I painted this coaster years ago, and I have not found a game that complements it quite so well. Will you take a look at that? Much appreciation for that. But no, that's actually not my favorite thing. Let's get serious here. So if you've played any kind of fantasy, adventure, dungeon crawl, D&D style game, this is going to be, well, right up your alley if you're into that sort of thing. Is there anything tremendously, remarkably different about this game? Well, there's one thing that sets it apart for sure. And I'll tell you what, that's the coloration. Yes, it is different, and I love it. I'm a huge fan of it. But aside that, we have a game here where you've got a campaign-style game that will have you starting at a place called Brutalburg with your character, and there's 8 different characters. They're all quite different, and they start you off with different stats and different items and different skills. You can even start off with weaknesses if you want that boost your experience level because you've been through some crap and you've gained some extra experience because of it, but it bogs you down in certain ways. Like in this case, I'm addicted to Scratch and I despise goblins, so it's going to limit what I can do with goblins. Very cool, very thematic, very fun. Here's all our chits that take care of our conditions. There are a lot of conditions, and there's a lot of little powers that different monsters can have here. We got a cultist that can summon. We've got a wetland monster, a scroggling sentry that can taunt us. Many of the things that they can do are all going to, again, be familiar if you've played this genre of game. You got a huge loot deck to work with, epic monsters, and in each of the 4 areas on the board, and they're denoted by their coloration, you've got different encounters that you can have in each of those. And the turn is basically made up of you deciding whether you're going to move or stay put and rest. Then you're going to be flipping over a card here, this danger deck, which is going to increase the level of danger out here. These numbers pretty much denote what how dangerous a place is. If it's orange, it's dangerous. If it's green, it's not. But green can become orange, and orange can become green. And then once you start maxing out at around the 6 mark, if you have to increase the danger of the watchtower when it's already at orange 6, then you're going to go up there. There's a doom track that's going to start adding tokens, and if that gets maxed out, you're going to lose. And so that's a pretty common, one of those timer situations there for a game that you're playing. This is all cooperative, and you can play it solo, and you can play it with one character, which I found to be blisteringly difficult, but I'm a fan of that. But more often I see people play solo 2 characters at a time. And so my favorite thing about this game in particular is the fact that it has a board that represents an area that you can get to know, and you don't have to set up every single time. So many adventure games, all that I can really think of, I don't know, Gloomhaven, Sword and Sorcery, Mage Knight. I mean, and these are great games, by the way, but this is just one of my favorite things about this game is that there's not a ton of setup between each missions and whatnot where you have to put out a bunch of other, oh, now you're in this room or now you're in this area, and you have to set up, like Folklore, The Affliction, that's another one, and Mansions of Madness, and, all those games, there's every time you've got to, like, build where you're playing on, and it just takes extra time. This game is one of the very few that just has one map that you're dealing with. And as you play, you really kind of get to know the area, and okay, like, man, I'm going to hit me some goblins up here in the Badlands, and then you got your wetland creatures, and you've got, these thematic areas that your guy, as you find items and stuff, you're going to be able to build upon that and then venture into areas that make more sense for the character that's kind of been built up as you're playing. And I just find that fantastically refreshing, and it's my favorite thing about playing Dungeon Degenerates Hand of Doom. And my least favorite thing is that from turn to turn, a lot of things happen, but then don't happen for a while, and then something new will happen, and then won't happen for a while, and then I find myself having to refer quite often to this rule book to try and remember the little subtleties and the little things that pop up. Very common in this style of game, and so I'm not really complaining, I guess. It's just my least favorite thing. This does come with some very nice looking player aids that go over quite a bit, and then you've got your missions that you'll need to also, again, be referring to quite often, because each mission has its own little things that you have to keep track of, and as you go through and you're playing your game, your characters can develop quite an array of stuff to keep track of. And again, just my least favorite thing about really this style of game in general. And all that aside, I am currently enjoying the heck out of this game. And that was my favorite and least favorite thing about playing Dungeon Degenerates, Hand of Doom, solo. I appreciate you watching. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time, I'm Board Game Rants, and I'm out.